Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to my channel Science of Life with Dr. Muhammad Yusuf. Today I am going to discuss sense of smell. But before that, one ayah from Holy Quran. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Innal ladina yuhibbuna an tashiyal fahishatu fil ladina amanu lahum adabun alimun fid dunya wal akhirah wallahu ya'lamu wa antum la ta'lamun. सूरह नूर की आयत है कि इन्नल्लज़ीना बेशक वो लोग युहिब्बूना जो इस बात को पसंद करते हैं कि अंतशियल फाहिशतो कि बेहयाई फैल जाए फिल्लज़ीना आमनू मोमिनों में ईमान वालों में बेहयाई फैलाने को पसंद करने वाले लोगों के लिए लहुम अज़ाबुन अलीम उनके लिए दर्दनाक अज़ाब है फिर दुनिया में भी वल आखिरा और आखिरत में भी वल्लाहु यालमु और अल्लाह खूब जानता है वान तुम ला तालमून आप और तुम लोग नहीं जानते कि ये अज़ाब कैसा है, दुनिया में कैसा अज़ाब है या कि आखिरत में कैसा अज़ाब है। अल्लाह फरमा रहे हैं कि मोमिनों में बेहयाई फैलाने वालों को पसंद करने वालों के लिए अल्लाह पाक ने अज़ाब रखा हुआ है। अल्लाह पाक हमें समझ अमल की तौफीक दे। So sense of smell, we are going to talk about the olfaction or sense of smell. It is one of the chemical senses. Sense of smell is a chemical sense. Some chemical, the receptors are sensitive to chemicals. We are going to see those receptors. This sense is very poorly developed in human. It is developed, but not as developed as in some animals. For example, dogs, they have got very well developed sense of smell. Other animals have got sense of smell very well developed. And in human beings, it is poorly developed. And it is very well developed in some lower animals, jaise maine keh diya. It is poorly understood sense as well. We discussed the eye in detail and many things we know, except details of the neuronal analysis of this color or the vision. But there are many things which we have studied and we know it, we can. But this sense of smell or olfaction is very poorly understood sense. It is totally a subjective phenomena. And it is difficult to study in animals as well. So the receptors of this sense are present in olfactory membrane in the nostrils. So receptors, those cells which will be sensitive to chemicals are those chemicals which will give this olfaction, they are known as odorous substances. Those chemicals which will give the odor or smell जिसको देंगे. So receptors are part of the olfactory membrane in the nostrils. This olfactory membrane present in the nostril is composed of those receptor cells primarily. The modified mucous membrane is lining the upper part of the nostrils, and this is the olfactory membrane. The surface area of this is the 2.4 square centimeters. 2.4 square centimeter is the area. All the olfactory membrane in the nostril is not the all the membrane lining the nostrils is not the olfactory membrane. It is present in the superior part and this special areas in the so the modified mucous membrane lining the upper part of the nostrils. And greater detail in anatomy probably you may have which turbinate it is lining on that in the superior part of the nostril. Surface area is 2.4 square centimeters. There are about 100 olfactory receptors, those cells where 100 million olfactory receptor cells are present in the olfactory membrane. All these olfactory cells are examples of bipolar cells. They have got the two poles. One pole which is one branch and branching into the mucous membrane, which has got the cilia on which the receptor substance, and then the other branch will be going toward the forming the through the cribriform plate the olfactory nerve जो बनाएगी. So these are the bipolar neurons. About 100 millions of the bipolar neurons are present. Then in this olfactory membrane, there are other cells as well. Supporting cells or sustentacular cells are also present. And there are basal cells also present, we are going to see. These basal cells are the cells from where the new bipolar cells or the receptor cells are formed. Basal cells are also present. So sustentacular cells and the receptor cells and the receptor cell forming cells are the basal cells. They are present, and there are the mucus secreting glands as well, which are known as the Bowman glands. Bowman glands are also present in the olfactory membrane. This is the diagram. This is olfactory membrane. It is covered by the mucus. And these are the bipolar cells. These are the actual bipolar cells. 100 millions of those, they are present in the olfactory membrane. And then there are the branches. These are the two poles, bipolar cell, and one is branching here in the mucous membrane. It is covered by the mucous membrane. This is forming a layer of these dendrites and mucous membrane. In dono milkar a layer has been formed, and these are the cells. And then there are the supporting cells as well. These yellow one are the bipolar cells, and these are the pink one are the supporting cells. And then there are basal cells, which can form the new bipolar cells as well, basal cells. And there are the mucus secreting glands as well. This we have seen. Now, next when we are going to talk about these bipolar cells, the other other branch, other side of the bipolar cell will be forming the filaments of the olfactory nerve, which will be passing through the bone. This is the bone, cribriform plate of the ethmoid bone. ethmoid bone ethmoid bone है जिसमें cribriform. There are fenestrations, openings in the cribriform plate, and these fibers of these cells will form the filaments of the olfactory nerve, will pass on to the next station. olfactory bulb में उसको आगे discuss करेंगे. So olfactory cells are the bipolar cells. The dendritic poles in the mucous membrane, as we have seen, in the form of the olfactory knobs. Olfactory knobs are there on which the cilia are present. On these olfactory cilia are present. There are about 4 to 25, between 4 to 25 cilia present on these knobs, and the diameter or dimensions of those cilia 1 to 2 micron is length, and 0.1 to 0.1 into 0.3 micron is the diameter of the thin filament. 1 to 2 micron, 200 micrometers. Sorry, 1 to 2 microns are there on these knobs. These are the cilia. These cilia have got the receptors to which the chemical will combine. So have the receptor for the odorous chemicals. The axons of the olfactory cells, the other side, those will be called as axons. You can call them the bipolar cell, but the axons of those cells, these are the dendritic site, you can call it, which is in the mucous membrane. Dendritic site can in the axons of the olfactory cell. They gather into bundles and filaments of the olfactory nerve, जो हम पीछे देख के आ गए हैं, मैं वापस दोबारा दिखा देता हूँ. That is these are the axons. इनको हम dendritic site कहते हैं. Dendrites are being formed. Axons of these will form the filaments of the olfactory nerve, which will pass through the cribriform plate. So they gather into the bundles, filaments of the olfactory nerve, which pass through the cribriform plate of the ethmoid bone. And they synapse with the dendrites of the mitral cells, forming olfactory glomeruli in the olfactory bulb. So after passing through the cribriform plate, they enter into what we term as the olfactory bulb. In those olfactory bulb, they form glomeruli where they synapse with the dendrites of another cells in the bulb, which is known as mitral cells. So synapse with the dendrites of the mitral cells forming olfactory glomeruli in olfactory bulb. मैं फिर वापस जाके वही दिखा देता हूँ. So these fibers will form synapse. These are the mitral cells. These mitral cells and this branches of this will form synapses here, and this whole structure is known as glomerulus. So there they form the glomeruli. So synapse with the dendrites of the mitral cells and the forming the olfactory glomeruli. Axons of the mitral cells form the olfactory tract. ये जो अगले सेल्स हैं mitral cell, आगे फिर डायग्राम आ जाएगी. These are the, ये सिंपल डायग्राम है. This is bipolar cell and ये glomerulus में they are forming synapses with the mitral cells, and axons of these mitral cells, they will form the next bundle of tract, which we term as the olfactory tract. There are another type of cells also present here in the olfactory bulb, which are known as the we are coming to that. Those cells आएंगे. There are other cells. They also contribute toward the formation. The axons of those, they also form the cells. Let me see those cells. Name of those cells. Sorry. Tufted cells. Those cells are known as tufted cells. There are the tufted cells as well. There are tufted cells present in the cells. हम वापस जाते हैं. मैं दोबारा explain करूँगा. Sorry. So axons of the mitral cells and tufted cells, they form olfactory tract. ये जो आगे हमने लिखा हुआ है, these are the axons of the mitral cells. The tufted cells are also present in these olfactory bulb, and their axons are the part of the olfactory this olfactory tract as well. Tufted cells. वो हम देखेंगे कितने tufted cells आगे दोबारा आ जाएंगे. So primarily the main pathway, the bipolar cells, mitral cells, they will be forming this olfactory tract. So this diagram is again from some other book. That is probably, this is from Guyton. That is the previous diagram is from somewhere from Google or from some other book. So these are the bipolar cells, and this is the olfactory membrane. These are the supporting cells, Bowman capsule, and these are the glomeruli, and the mitral cells are shown there. Those tufted cells are also not shown here. Now the mechanism of excitation. We will talk about the pathway, olfactory pathway later on at the end of this lecture. So mechanism of excitation of this receptor, this is a chemical sense. So there are chemical odorant, a chemical substance or in the form which should be called as odorant. They will combine with the receptor protein in the cilia. It has to pass through the mucous membrane. We are going to see it should be water soluble, it should be fat soluble. So this chemical substance, the odorant, will combine with the specific chemical in the cilia, वही जो dendrites of the basal cells scattered in the mucous membrane, embedded in the mucous membrane. Those cilia are present on the knobs, olfactory knobs, and with cilia chemicals are. So this will cause combination of the receptor chemical, that will be also chemical, and the odorant will cause the stimulation of the onset of cascade of reaction, which will lead to the stimulation of these receptor cells, and that is through the G protein. There is G protein present in the cell membrane. Stimulation of the G protein in the cytoplasm, G protein in the cytoplasm, it will combine with the receptor. That is again receptor protein. That is come in combination with the G protein. Diagram में आगे मैं पहले diagram दिखा देता हूँ. Okay, this is a receptor protein for that odorant. This is the chemical, and this is the receptor protein. It is a long protein. There are 7 loops of this present in the cell membrane. It will combine, and the other part of this receptor protein is in combination with the G protein, जिसको हम कहते हैं G protein, which comprises of 3 subunits. 3 subunits, alpha, beta, and gamma. These are the 3 subunits which are in combination with this. So this is the receptor protein. And it is in combination with the G protein, and G protein is heterotrimeric. Alpha, beta, and gamma हमने देखा हुआ है. So the heterotrimeric protein, and this will cause the combination of the odorant or the chemical with the receptor protein will cause the dissociation of alpha subunit. जैसा वो diagram में आगे, it will alpha subunit will dissociate when this combined with this. This was before this combination, this was one protein, G protein, with this, and the alpha subunit then dissociates after this combination, and it combined with another. It stimulates another enzyme which is known as adenylyl cyclase, which will lead to the formation of cyclic AMP. It will convert the ATP into cyclic AMP. This cyclic AMP will act on the other protein channels here in the protein channel there, which are the channel for the sodium, which will cause the depolarization of this. इसको हम explain करेंगे. So this dissociation of alpha subunit, it will lead to the activation. If alpha subunit will activate the enzyme present again in the cell membrane, which is known as adenylyl cyclase or adenyl cyclase. Adenyl cyclase or adenylyl cyclase, both are correct terms. So adenyl cyclase, and it will convert the ATP into cyclic AMP. This cyclic AMP will cause the activation of the protein, which are the gates for the sodium, which will open the sodium gate, जैसे हम कह सकते हैं. So it will cause the cyclic AMP will cause the activation of those proteins in the form of the opening of the sodium gates. So sodium gates will open, and sodium will add entry of the sodium into the receptor cell will cause depolarization. And it will cause the stimulation. इसको हम देखते हैं stimulation का खास बात इसकी. So entry of the sodium into the receptor will cause the depolarization of the receptor cells. So that's how this mechanism of excitation of the receptor cell is. Now, one important thing left, that is there is a cascade of reactions finally leading to the opening of the gates. There is amplification at every step, that is this combination of the odorant with the receptor and will cause the stimulation of the G protein. This G protein alpha subunit may activate many adenylyl cyclase. It will lead to the formation of many cyclic AMP, and one cyclic AMP will cause the stimulation of many gates will open, and this is so there is amplification at each step. Okay, thoda sa odorant substance we are going to see that this is very powerful sense. Powerful in the sense very small amount of chemical is required for the stimulation of this, and this amplification mechanism is important for this very powerful this excessive sensitivity of these receptors, amplification at each step. So this is how combination of this will cause the dissociation of alpha. It will stimulate the adenyl cyclase. Cyclic AMP will form. It will open the sodium channels here, which are not shown in this diagram. So sodium channel will open. So odorant substance, qualities of odorant substance. ये कैसा होना चाहिए? Quality of it should be volatile because it has to pass through air into the nostrils. Inspired air, it will go along with this chemical, so it should be volatile. So the volatile for the proper sniffing deep into the nostrils, ये deep region में हम कैसे सूंघते हैं? We sniff it. We try to make that odorant reach the deeper part of our nostrils where the olfactory cells are present, or olfactory membrane is present. So it should be volatile. it should be water soluble because it has to pass through the mucous membrane. The mucous membrane is covering those cilia on which the receptor are present. So mucous membrane is covering it, so it must pass. So it should be water soluble, and it should be fat soluble, lipid soluble as well. Some lipid solubility to interact with the lipid structure of the cilia, and it will combine with the receptor protein. So volatile and water and lipid solubility, dono की किस्म की some solubility should be there. Now, resting membrane potential, like every receptor cell, it has got these bipolar cell have got the resting membrane potential of minus 55 millivolts, and at this membrane potential, there is constant generation of action potential. जैसे हर जब बाकी न्यूरॉन में भी होती है, we saw this basic firing rate in the ganglion cells as well. So there is a basic firing rate, but very low. Firing rate very slow at this membrane potential 2 to 3 per second. So there is a natural production of the impulses at this millivolt. Some leakage of the sodium is occurring. Of course, the spontaneous generation of action potential needs opening of some open gates or leak channels for the sodium for depolarization. So they are present at this minus 55 millivolts. We saw this in the eye में भी हमने देखा था और ear में भी हमने देखा था. That is the so there is the basic firing rate of 2 to 3 per second. But when they are depolarized, when depolarized, minus 55, say it is minus 50, firing rate will increase. That's how they are stimulated. So this is the depolarization will increase the frequency of the action potential generated. Natural 2 to 3 produce हो रहे हैं, but when depolarization, this depolarization goes to minus 50, minus 40, not action potential, number of action potential generated natural, that will increase. So increase frequency of those action potential 20 to 30 per second, जो 2 to 3 है, so 10 times more action potential may be produced. So they will be traveling in toward the mitral cells के साथ synapse करेंगे. Olfactory nerve impulses are proportional to the log of strength stimulus. Odorant, जितना ज़्यादा odorant होगा, उसकी जितनी ज़्यादा concentration होगी, accordingly the stimulation will be there. So olfactory nerve impulses are directly proportional to the concentration, or you can say exactly logarithmic scale में log of the strength of the stimulus, the concentration of the stimulus. जितना ज़्यादा, simply you can say जितना ज़्यादा concentration होगी, उतनी ज़्यादा stimulation होगी. This is very important, which I have written in red and I have underlined it. That is, this sense, these receptors, bipolar cells or olfactory cells, they have got very low threshold for stimulation. We saw the threshold for the different taste substances. कि कितना लेवल हो हाइड्रोजन आयन का, कितने मोलर कंसंट्रेशन हो हाइड्रोजन आयन की या कैटायंस की फॉर स्टिमुलेशन ऑफ द टेस्ट रिसेप्टर्स, वो हमने बेसिक देखी थी. These receptors, olfactory membrane, they have got very low threshold, very low concentration is sufficient for the stimulation. टेस्ट रिसेप्टर की अच्छी खासी हाइड्रोजन आयन होंगे, अगर उससे थोड़ा कम मीठा हो तो फील ही नहीं होते, दे आर नॉट स्टिमुलेटेड. बट दीज यू कैन इमेजिन the only a few molecules circulating in air के साथ a few molecules entering into our nostrils, they will stimulate it. So they have got very low threshold stimulation of the olfactory cells. So this is very important. This olfaction, this is so important, that is, we can smell very few molecules present in air. This methyl mercaptan is a gas which is added to this our natural gas, जो हम घर में जो ईंधन के तौर पर, फ्यूल के तौर पर इस्तेमाल करते हैं. Methyl mercaptan is added to that natural gas. And the concentration of this methyl mercaptan in air, kitni concentration? 125 trillionth per of ट्रिलियंथ ऑफ अ ग्राम पर ml ऑफ एयर, यानी एयर के 1 ml में 125 ट्रिलियंथ ऑफ अ ग्राम ऑफ मरकेप्टिन। इतना लो कंसंट्रेशन अगर एयर में मौजूद है, वी कैन स्मेल इट। जो हम नेचुरल गैस का स्मेल होती है, गैस की स्मेल नहीं होती, दिस इज स्मेल ऑफ दिस मरकेप्टिन। वो इसलिए दिस इज द सेफ्टी मेजर कि गैस की लीकेज को वी शुड डिटेक्ट इट। सो दिस अल्फेक्शन इज सो इंपॉर्टेंट, दिस डिटेक्ट्स वेरी लो कंसंट्रेशन ऑफ मिथाइल मरकेप्टिन। You can 125 trillionth of a gram per ml is sufficient for the stimulation. तो जरा सी गैस कहीं लीक होती है, we can smell it. So this receptor cells are, they have got very threshold for stimulation of olfactory cells. They so very low threshold के अलावा they are adaptation of these receptor is maximum. All the sensory receptor, they have got the property of adaptation. हमने पढ़ा है। आई की adaptation और तरह की है, light and dark adaptation वो भी हमने पढ़ी, but adaptation of all the receptors we know it. So adaptation of the taste receptor we know it. Well, last probably previous lecture में शायद taste पे हमारा lecture था. That is the taste substances if you put in your oral cavity, there initially there is more stimulation and later on this side there is adaptation and adaptation. So this sense is adaptation of the olfaction to almost extinction. Extinction means almost absence हो जाए, इतनी ज़्यादा अडॉप्ट के लिए। And you have got the common experience. If you enter into some room, if you enter into fish market, if you enter some odorous environment, किसी गंदी जगह पे आप जाते हैं, you enter into the dissection hall if you are medical student, and the lot of smell there in the fish market or in some stuffy place. Yes, this way. But after time, you don't feel any smell there. There is this adaptation is almost to extinction जैसे हो ही ना, almost 100%, 99% adaptation हो जाती है. Constant, so it is adaptation of the olfaction is to almost extinction. 50% adaptation of the receptor occur at the receptor level within first second. Initially, when you enter into the fish market, lot of smell is, but within very short period of time, within 1 second, 50% to adapt हो जाते हैं. And this adaptation is at the receptor level. ये शुरू में adaptation at the receptor level, they are like every receptor at the receptor level. Taste receptor भी at receptor level भी है और higher level भी है. इसकी भी adaptation receptor level की भी है, olfaction में भी, and higher level भी है. So 50% of the adaptation occurs in first second. First a few seconds में हो जाती है. Then adaptation slowly you adapt to almost extinction. कि कोई सेंस होती नहीं है. You dissection में I have got the experience. You must have got the experience as well when you enter into dissection hall. Dissection में we used to dissect the cadavers or the dead bodies जो dissect करते थे, वो formalin etc. There was a lot of the entry of dissection hall was difficult zone, but after all then that is almost to extinction. The adaptation occurs and the dissection hall we used to eat and drink and we used to enjoy. There was no odor felt. No odor felt, odor was there, but adaptation was there. So then adaptation slowly occurs and to almost extinction. Central or psychological adaptation is more important. Receptor level adaptation is also there, but the central or the psychological adaptation is more important than the receptor adaptation. This adaptation, central adaptation, neurons, they do adapt. Yes, okay. Neuron, these bipolar cell may adapt, or next mitral cell may adapt, or the central cortical sense, where the this what we call olfactory areas, neurons may adapt, but there are some cells. The reversal signals, that the retrograde signals are coming from the centrifugal fiber from the olfactory region of the brain back to the olfactory bulb. in mitral cells. Stimulation of the mitral cell is the mechanism of the stimulation or the sending the impulses to the olfactory area, but there are backward signals coming to some cells which are known as the granule cells. These are the inhibitory cells again present in the olfactory bulb, and they will inhibit the granule cells are present which will inhibit the information, that is mitral cell की stimulation को inhibit करेंगे, तो adaptation will occur, adaptation in the granule cell. So there are granule cells. ये कैसे है? Neurons themselves, they have got the property of adaptation, but there is a phenomena of inhibition as well. This inhibition is coming from the center, from the olfactory area, and back to there are cells which are present for this inhibition. These are the granule cells again present in the olfactory bulb, which will inhibit this action potential. Primary olfactory sensation, we classified the primary colors in eye, those three colors, and the different degree of stimulation of different cones. We perceive thousands of colors. And primary tastes, we saw those that sour taste and the bitter taste, or the sweet taste, and the umami, etc. Those 5 modalities we counted. And for olfaction, how many primary olfactory sensations? We do not know. There are thousands of the odorous chemicals giving different types of the odors. We can't name all those different types of odors. We have named more than 100, these are not more than 1,000 types of the olfactory sensation may be there, are suggested. We know, we have got the experience. Thousands of the different olfactions we can feel, but we can't name them differently. हम different type के scent इस्तेमाल करें, different olfactions are there. फूलों के different olfactions are there. और वो बुरी smell जो है, बदबू भी है, वो भी different types of they are present. We can't name them separately. There are not 100. You can add one more zero here. 1,000, more than 1,000 types of the olfactory sensation have been suggested. And specific receptor protein for each type of odorant may be present. ऐसे भी हो सकता है. Thousands of, हमने कहा ना, 10 million bipolar cells are present in the olfactory membrane. Not 10 million, 100 millions. 100 million olfactory cells are present. 10 crore. They are present in olfactory membrane. So there are many types of many. So maybe for one chemical there is another receptor, another chemical, another type of chemical receptor protein may be present. So specific receptor protein for each type of the odorant may be present. We have named a few modalities, primary modalities of sensation, जो हम नाम बता सकते हैं कुछ किसी हद तक. One is camphoraceous. Camphor आपने सुना होगा. Camphoraceous, musky odor, or floral, ये फूलों की खुशबू वगैरह. Floral, we have different type. The rose has got, the jasmine has got different. We call them we call them floral, but they are totally different. Jasmine odor is totally different from the rose odor. So there are floral and the pepperminty, and then ethereal, ether ki tarah ki, or pungent smell, or the putrid smell. So these 7 modalities have been named, but as I said, we can't name every modality. We have limited words for the more than 1,000 types of the different odors we can smell, we can feel. Perceive कर सकते हैं, but we can't name them. These are the few names given, 7, that is, you can call them. Odor blindness of more than 100 types, ये भी देखा गया है. ये सिर्फ 7 है. 100 types of the odor blindness have been detected. Some people have got the blindness, odor blindness, के एक खास chemical वो नहीं सूंघते, वो नहीं feel करते. 100 types of the odor blindness have been seen in human beings. So there are so many types of the odors, primary modalities उसकी बहुत सी हो सकती है. transmission of the olfactory signal. Now we are going to talk about how from the olfactory olfactory membrane cribriform plate से bipolar cell के axons will pass, they will synapse with the mitral cells in the glomeruli. यहाँ से आगे चलते हैं. Olfactory nerve cells 25,000 of them, and the mitral cells 25, and tufted cells 60. They all synapse in the structure in the glomerulus. ये सारे मिलकर glomerulus बना रहे हैं. तो olfactory cells, तो these are the bipolar cells, the tufted cells and the mitral cells, वो olfactory bulb के अंदर मौजूद हैं. They form a glomerulus. यहाँ से then there are the there may be specific glomeruli for each order. ये भी हो सकता है. Specific receptor भी हो सकते हैं. Maybe glomerulus भी different हो सकता है for that. Olfactory tract, though fibers of these mitral cells especially and some tufted cells. Mitral cells, they form the bundle of fiber which is known as olfactory tract. उस diagram में हमने देखा था. Yeah. This is the olfactory bulb है. This is the mitral cells. Mitral cells जो यहाँ पे बना रहा है, the fibers of the axons of those mitral cells will form the olfactory tract. Olfactory tract. So these mitral cells के fibers, they will form the olfactory tract, and the olfactory tract divides into two stria. They are known as olfactory stria. To lateral and medial olfactory stria. Diagram आगे दोबारा आ रही है, उस पे चले जाएंगे. So this olfactory tract form from the axons of the mitral cells. Glomerulus से शुरू हो रहे हैं, जहाँ पे tufted cells भी और bipolar cell भी synapse कर रहे हैं. So the olfactory tract will start from there, and it will be medial and lateral olfactory stria. में it will divide into. Medial olfactory stria leads into what we term as medial olfactory area. वो आगे हम देखते हैं वो कौन सा एरिया है. Medial stria, medial branch of the olfactory tract, medial stria of the olfactory tract will go to the medial olfactory area, and lateral stria send fiber to the lateral olfactory area. वो देखते हैं what are the lateral olfactory areas, कौन से areas. So that's how this will divide. ये diagram में देख ले. This is the olfactory tract. It is dividing into the medial, which is going to the medial olfactory area. This is medial olfactory area from where the fibers are going to the other areas as well. वो आगे हम देखेंगे. Then the lateral olfactory stria, which is passed on to the lateral olfactory area, and from the lateral olfactory area they are going to the hippocampus as well, and the medial olfactory area, the fibers are going to the brainstem nuclei as well, and from this area they are going to the prefrontal cortex as well. So these are the two areas: medial olfactory area and lateral olfactory area, medial olfactory stria and medial olfactory stria. The most primitive olfactory sense is, this is a very old system. This is the medial olfactory area. ये जो medial olfactory area, this area. This is the most primitive olfactory sense, very old olfactory sense. और वो हम देखते हैं कि ये क्या क्या काम करता है. This is the very old medial olfactory area is the very old or the primitive olfactory area. And this is present in the mid-basal portion of the brain anterior to the hypothalamus. वापस जाता हूँ. This is the mid-basal portion of the brain anterior to the hypothalamus. This is hypothalamus, this is anterior, frontal lobe and occipital lobe. This is the anterior, this is hypothalamus, anterior to the hypothalamus, medial olfactory area, the mid-basal portion of the, जो हमने क्या कहा, this is mid-basal portion of the brain anterior to the hypothalamus. This is, and there are septal nuclei as well in this area. Septal nuclei, this is the medial olfactory area. This is the very old or the primitive olfactory sense. It is concerned with the basic behaviors of the animal or human being. ये जो पुराने primitive है. Feeding reflexes, for example, licking of the lips. This reflex present, this is this medial olfactory area. अगर lateral olfactory area को destroy भी कर दें, this licking of the lips, जब ऑर्डर उसको दीजिए, आर सलाइवेशन, जब उस अच्छी खुशबू आए, खाने की खुशबू आए, सलाइवेशन ह्यूमन बीइंग में भी मौजूद है, एनिमल में तो वेल डेवलप्ड है, ये मौजूद है सलाइवेशन में अकर. और इमोशनल ड्राइव इन एनिमल्स, दिस olfaction plays very important role in human beings as well. Olfaction also, this is the part of the limbic system. This order, the olfaction is the part of the limbic system. So emotional drive. So these concerned with this very old system is concerned with the this licking of the lips or salivation or emotional drive. If you destroy the lateral olfactory area, these are present there even after the destruction of the lateral olfactory area. Then there is less old system. What is that? Lateral olfactory area. That is preform cortex, preform cortex. Preform cortex, and the amygdala, some nuclei in the amygdala, cortical amygdaloid nuclei. So limbic, this is again the limbic part of the limbic system. So the preform cortex, preform cortex and the amygdala nuclei, they are the less old system of the olfaction, and for these areas signals also go from these areas, the signal also go to the hippocampus. Diagram mein humne dekha tha, signals also go to the hippocampus and other parts of the limbic system as well. Ye bhi limbic system ka hissa hai, amygdala and the other hippocampus and other parts in the limbic system, they are also signal, they will receive the signals. So some fibers also go to the anterior medial portion of the temporal cortex without passing through the thalamus. I will go to that diagram again. Some fiber from the medial, this lateral olfactory area, they go to the temporal cortex. Some fiber, this is the medial olfactory area, this is the temporal orbito, ये तो ऊपर वाला है ना, this is the temporal cortex. This area, temporal cortex का area, the fibers are going to the temporal cortex. Thalamus अभी इधर है, this is hypothalamus, thalamus ये जगह है. The signals are not, so this is all these are passing without passing through the thalamus. ये thalamus के बगैर ये सारे, they are going to this temporal cortex as well. So some fiber, they also go to the anterior medial portion of the temporal cortex without passing through the thalamus. This is important, thalamus. Then the less old system, newer system आप कहेंगे, concerned with the affective quality of the smell. Affective quality of the, हमने taste की भी बात की थी. That is experience based response to this olfaction. This area is responsible for that. Likeness or dislikeness or pleasantness or unpleasantness, ये जो feeling है, pleasant or unpleasant जो है, behavior according to the past experience, this is the affective nature of the smell. That is, this very old system is concerned with that. That is वो हमने देखा. अब the जो हमने अभी देख के आए, ये टेम्पोरल कॉर्टेक्स और हिपोकैम्पस को जाने वाला एरिया, मीडियल लेटरल olfactory area, this is concerned with that. Now the newest system, now the people say that some fiber, they pass through thalamus, like all other sensory pathway, they pass through the thalamus except this olfaction. But now it has been detected that some of the olfaction signals, they pass through the thalamus and they go to the cortex. After passing through the thalamus, this is the new system. Lateral olfactory pathway say there are the some fibers, they pass to the dorsomedial thalamic nuclei. Diagram में नहीं दिखाया हुआ, वो जो पिछली diagram will not go to the diagram, but fiber, they go to the thalamic nuclei and then to the posterior lateral quadrant of the orbitofrontal cortex. Frontal cortex को जो arrow गया हुआ है, frontal cortex, frontal lobe में posterior lateral quadrant of the orbitofrontal cortex and the prefrontal cortex, anterior lobe of the brain की हम बात कर, frontal lobe की हम बात कर रहे हैं. So this is responsible for the conscious analysis of the odor की conscious analysis के लिए this area is important. So this is the very new system of the odor. ये so as we said शुरू में, this is very poorly understood sense कि ये ज़्यादा डिटेल में हमें भी नहीं पता, जितनी बातें मालूम है we have explained it. And thank you very much for this. And please do subscribe my channel and share. With this, we come to the end of this स्पेशल सेंसेस फिजियोलॉजी ऑफ स्पेशल सेंसेस, जिसमें हमने आई, ईयर, टेस्ट एंड स्मेल को हमने डिस्कस कर दिया. नेक्स्ट टाइम इन दिस इज़ द कोर्स ऑफ द सेकेंड ईयर MBBS, जो हम पाकिस्तान में स्पेशली दिस इज़ द पार्ट ऑफ द सेकेंड MBBS करिकुलम. तो नेक्स्ट आई एम गोइंग टू स्टार्ट सम second year curriculum. I may start the renal physiology, or I may start the GIT physiology. These two portions I think are left. Sensory system is also left. So sensory system and motor system I'm going to discuss. I'm going to decide कि कौन सा next time second year के हम kidney के साथ या sensory system के साथ. Sensory system, I would like to start when you start studying the sensory system in your classes. In our this province, mostly the second year exam is on probably now the second year exam shuru hone wala hai. So I should start, and the next second year class, inshallah, when they start the sensory system, I will start the sensory system and kidney RGIT we are going to. So this second year lectures I am going to start after some break, but first year lectures has circulation. If you are interested in that, the people who listen first year lectures as well for understanding, I am discussing circulation. So more lectures from the circulation, and second year kabhi we are going to talk. And please do subscribe and share this information, these slides and these lectures to other students as well. And hope to see you in next lecture, inshallah. Thank you very much.